Peace and blessings, world. Thanks for tuning into my Re-a-lity with me, Reiki Tavares, Peace's mom. Today, I'm going to share my testimony, my angel mom testimony, and how I was welcomed into this bereaved journey. April 4th, 2020, I gave birth to my son, my first son, but I'm going to rewind the tape a little bit. Yeah, I think I rewinded it to the beginning. I got pregnant with my first son in 2019, November. My first pregnancy. I didn't quite always want to have children, but once I got married and I don't know, fell more and more in love with my husband, I wanted to become a mom. Like I wanted to create a beautiful being, out of love. And sure enough, I got pregnant with my son, like I said, in 2019, and my world was ecstatic. My world was amazing. My world was everything that I ever wanted it to be when I got this news, right? I was so excited. My pregnancy was normal. Nothing was abnormal. I didn't eat meat. I'll say I didn't eat anything that walked the earth. I do eat fish, lots of veggies. I recall my doctors being super excited about the fact that I ate so healthy. I was just so in love with being pregnant. And I found out, I want to say March sometime, maybe, that we were having a boy. The ultrasound tech wasn't quite sure. She felt like she was seeing 3 lines and a penis. And I'm like, what? No, that's a penis. Like it kept coming out, like poking out, And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I know. My husband, he's like, okay, let's go to another, he said, let's go do a 3D ultrasound. So we go do a 3D ultrasound in Glendale. We get a sister named Maria, and she has never been wrong. She's been right every time. They said at this appointment, if she's wrong or if they're wrong, that I'll get my next ultrasound for free, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. You pay all this money and it's 3D. So that was the cool part. My son would not move. He kept his legs crossed the whole entire time. At this point, she's trying to have me turn on my side every way. When I do turn on my side one time or the next time, whenever, she was able to see 3 lines, and she's insisting that I'm having a girl. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, you see those 3 lines? She gets up there on the monitor. I'm like, okay, wow. But inside, I'm like, no, deep down, this is a boy, because I've already talked to God prior to this, and God has already told me that I was having a boy. I asked God to give me signs, and one of my first signs was a Frederick Douglass coin on my seat of the car that I happened to sit on. And I'm like, what is this? And it was a Frederick Douglass coin. That was a confirmation for me, because God knew that I was saving these Frederick Douglass coins for my first child, right? For my son specifically, because this is a man of African descent on money. I was super excited about it. So I started saving these coins. Make a long story short, when I found this coin, it confirmed to me, this is what I'm having. So to speed it up, when the lady tells me that I'm having a girl, I'm like, wow, she's wrong. Um, but we leave this appointment and my husband's like, we'll see. We'll go to the next one and we'll still see, just to be sure, when he's really opening his legs even more, because he kept his legs crossed the whole, well, or not the whole time, but every time we went to a doctor's appointment for the ultrasound. So March 31st, that's my birthday. We're anticipating the April 1st appointment, because this is going to be another time of us going back for an ultrasound to see if this is a boy or girl or not, even though we know we're having a boy, right? Not even that, to see if he opens up his legs, rather. We go to the appointment, drive all the way down to Santa Monica. I remember everything I had on head to toe. Like, I was excited. This was my birthday. I'm about to be reaffirmed on what I'm having, like I'm about to find out again, even though I know that I'm having a boy. We get there, it's COVID. They didn't let my husband in. They didn't let him in. He was very upset about that, because he's always been able to come into the appointments. Well, the back, the room. I'm back there. The lady's taking a while. And I'm like, what's going on, And she's like, give me a second. I'm going to go get the specialist. I'm like, you're going to go get the specialist? Why is she getting this specialist, right? I think the greatest thing about this specific clinic is they have specialists there. Even if you don't have anything abnormal going on with your pregnancies, they have specialists there. I think that's great about any hospital that have specialists there on call when you need them, when you don't need them, because you never know. So she comes in and she gets the Doppler and she puts it on my belly. And I'm like, at this point, a lot upset and nervous. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what are you guys doing? And she's like, don't worry, just relax. Lay back, She says that she can't find a heartbeat, but I'm going to try. My heart immediately dropped out of my vagina somewhere else. I don't know where it went. And I'm like, what? Like, my mind's going crazy. And she checks and she didn't find a heartbeat either. At this point, I'm like, still lost, because my heart is going, so I don't know what's going on at this point. I'm kind of like numb. We're going out of the room now. My husband isn't in there. I tell them, can you get my husband before we go into the back? We go in the back. She calls my husband. We go in the back. We get the news. Well, he gets the news. I'm still sitting there like numb. Like, what? Like in disbelief. And as she's talking to my husband, like, waterworks just start falling from my face, like a river of water just pouring. My husband's very upset. He's very livid. He's cursing out everybody that's there, blaming them, just pretty much asking, like, what did you do? First time that you didn't let me in the room. This is what happens. He was very livid and he had a reason to be. So we go back in the room so my husband can see. Still no heartbeat. We leave out, and from us leaving out, I'm still like in disbelief, because I felt my son moving the whole entire time, even like on the way to the doctor. Like, I felt him moving the whole time, but he wasn't moving according to the doctor. So we leave and we go get lunch. I'm still in disbelief because I still feel my son moving. We go to Where did we go? We go to a Jamaican restaurant. I forget the name of it. But we went there and we get the food to go. I ordered snapper, rice and peas, callaloo. He ordered the callaloo plate, I believe. We're on the beach now eating, and I'm still in disbelief because it's like these people are tripping. In my mind, it's like they're tripping. What the hell is like the tears stop? And I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. Please. So we leave, we eat, we leave, and we go home. And the next day, I go back to the doctor. I'm going back to the doctor because it's to my primary doctor now. And we schedule the appointment for me to be admitted into the hospital to have my son. Mind you, this is 2020, the height of COVID. So no one was allowed to go in the hospitals. Stores, pregnant women and elders weren't even allowed to be outside unless they were going to go to the store. And I believe that they were priority, but because we were pregnant and because there were elders, your immune system was at risk. That was the whole thing. So my biggest thing was I was going to have a water birth. That was my plan. I had a whole plan before my life stopped, before my heart fell. And my plan changed. Even though it was COVID, I felt like, well, I'm going to have a water birth anyway, so it's fine. I'm telling my son, talking to my belly every day, and I'm telling him, like, it's fine, don't worry. We're going to have a water birth. So I wanted to be at home. But God had other plans. We had to be admitted into the hospital the next day, and my mom took us to the hospital actually because she was going in with us. We all were going, my mom, my husband. But they didn't let my mom in. They did not want to let my husband in. They almost tried to refuse him, but he was adamant about coming in, and my doctor made him aware that her husband was coming in. My husband was allowed to come in eventually. They made him aware that he would be at risk of COVID, even though we know who cares when, your life is changing as you're breathing, literally. So, we go in and I'm admitted. He's right by my side. I did not have my son until the 4th. I think I was admitted the 2nd, and I had him the 4th at 1 p.m. And I would say it was agony, very painful, even though he was very small, still very painful. He came out feet first. He was not a girl. Do you hear that? I had a boy. I remember my doctor telling my husband, like, that's crazy, I had a brain fart. But I remember him saying your son to my husband, and then my husband's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I told you that I was having a boy, The nurse was not the best nurse. She was like, I don't know, like scared. I don't know if she was scared because she knew that there was no heartbeat and that the baby wasn't going to be alive. But she was very timid. She shouldn't have been my nurse. She shouldn't have been in the hospital delivering, helping us deliver, rather. The doctor had to tell her to get a blanket, to put the baby in a blanket and to give her son. Just crazy. But maybe she was shocked, maybe she was triggered. I have no clue. But that's how my experience was giving birth to my son. After that, after having peace, I had to push out my placenta, and typically it's just, it comes out after you have a baby. For me, it didn't. So I had to, get it, have a DNC. And having the DNC, I had to go downstairs, right, off of the maternity ward to surgery. When I come back from surgery, I think my husband, yeah, well, when I come back from surgery, I'm in another room on another floor. And the nurse reminds me, like, as they're pushing me, that they're taking me to another floor and that they have to go get my husband. He's with Peace, which is still on the maternity ward. And, I'm going to another room. I can't go back to that ward because they don't, it's trauma, and it can be very traumatizing for a mom to be left in a maternity ward when their child has transitioned. They shouldn't be no longer, on that floor. Once they have their child, they should be on another floor. Who wants to hear babies cry when you can't hear your own baby cry? But I've heard lots of moms say that they were left on the maternity ward and they have been traumatized. It was agonizing for them to be left on that floor and their baby has transitioned. They don't have their child. So I'm very thankful for that. So my husband comes down to the floor where I'm at, and I probably had, my husband comes down, the nurses bring Peace down, 2 nurses, and one of the nurses, as she come in, I believe her name was Lorraine, I pray it was. Her eyes is tears. I see in her eyes that her eyes is teary-eyed. And I'm like, why is her eyes watery inside? And she tells me that, not at that moment, but she comes back to me. They give me Peace. One of the ladies leave, which was an elder, and she was Asian. She sent her condolences to me, and I received it. The other nurse sent her condolences as well, but again, her eyes was watery. And she let me know that, she's a mom of 2 stillborns. She had twins, and this was triggering for her, and she gave me a hug and she sent me peace and blessings, and she let me know that I wasn't alone, because I felt like I was very alone. And I'm referring to being a woman and experiencing this, giving birth to a child without a heartbeat. And she did it with 2 babies. The elder, a nurse who was with her, who was Asian, she also had experienced a loss, and she shared that with me as well. And I remember her putting a cross over my son's head, his forehead, and sending her blessings. And she went on. Inside, I'm like, who told her she can touch my son? But it was all love, like a little jealousy, like, this is mine, like, don't touch him. But it was all love, respectfully. I'm very grateful for those 2 nurses, because they've experienced the agony that I'm still experiencing today. And I see that they, at least then, I saw that, that they were persevering, that they had strength to still get up and do it again, So I'm thankful for that. Later on, after that, I'll say I maybe had hours with my son. My husband had more hours with him. Maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, maybe less. I remember them saying, bringing us the pamphlet for the mortuaries because they had to pick him up. My husband pretty much dealt with all that. They did a lot of talking with him, not really with me. It makes sense. I'm glad that they didn't, and I'm grateful for him for being there, because I couldn't have handled it all. And I still really can't, you know. He's helping me still today and forever. With God above all, helping me first and foremost, and allowing him to help me as well. You know, they came, they took peace away, and that was pretty much it. From there, we had to figure everything out, what we were going to do, because we had to make a decision before that. What was I going to do? No labs, no scientists, none of that is getting a hold of my son. For what? When everything was normal, this is my son. This is my prized possession. Even though his heart isn't beating, this is mine. This is ours. And that's just what it is and what it was then. We made a decision to, you know, have an interment for our son. You know, our son is at Forest Lawn. I'll never forget it. Never could forget him. And I'm saying forget it as in Forest Lawn, as in the trauma. But this journey as an angel mom, as an angel parent, is not for the weak. I like to quote Kendrick Lamar and say that they not like us, because the everyday parent that has all of their children walking and talking and breathing is not like us. It's definitely not like me. And I didn't choose this journey. God chose this journey for me. This isn't easy, but I want to continuously ask and pray for every parent to, you know, talk to God and to pray about it and to, you know, try. It gets better. I don't know how soon or how fast, but I'm still looking for the better. They say that it gets better, but I'm not where I'm at April 4th, you know? I can, some days I can move a little better than I did yesterday. Some days I can smile and feel no guilt, but this isn't a journey that I would choose for anyone. And I want to salute any and every parent that has decided to persevere and to not give up and to keep their child's name alive. You know, I think it's very important to talk about your child, to celebrate your child, to focus on the good. I think it's very important to talk to God again, you know, and ask questions. I think it's okay to be mad. I think it's okay to question God. Some may beg to differ, but this is me and this is how I feel. This is that, and that's what I do. I talk to God. I question God. God is my Father. And I know that I was not brought this far in life to be left alone, even though I cry every day, even though I do not have my son here with me, who would be 5, even though I'm here sharing my testimony with the world. I know that God didn't bring me this far to leave me at all. And I know my purpose. And I'm living in my purpose, and I'm living in my truth. And I will continue to do so. As long as God leads me, as long as I have breath. And I encourage every parent to break the silence. Your child is not a secret. Your pain is not a secret. Share with the world, because we're not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not the first nor the last. Neither will you be the first nor the last. But to share your testimony, to talk about your child when no one else can, why not? Why not break the silence for your child? Why not keep your child's name alive? You know? Why not empower another mom or dad that's in your shoes or will be in your shoes? Because I'm not the first nor the last. I want to thank everyone for tuning into my raw reality with me, Peace Mommy, and Breaking the Silence. Have a blessed day. Peace.